Okay, Roll20. How do we build a Roll20 game? How do we play D&D online with Roll20? This will be the fourth video in this series. So far, we've talked about building a Roll20 campaign. We've checked out the interface for the Roll20 campaign. We have built a start page, which is very simple. It is just this wooden table, and we put a couple of props on it, and we called it good. I encourage anyone who's following along to decorate your start page with all sorts of neat stuff related to your player characters and the adventures that they go on. But for now, we're going to leave this nice and basic. It would look a lot better if I turn these grid lines off, but I'm going to keep the grid lines on for now so that we can sort of learn to operate with the grid on, since a lot of your pages are going to have grid set. So, characters, that's what we need. So we're going to go over to the right-hand side. We're going to go to Journal. And you'll see that your journal is completely blank because this tutorial series is building from nothing. Whereas if you had purchased a prefab adventure module from Roll20, cha-ching, cha-ching, you would already have a lot of this stuff built for you. And I mean a lot of this stuff built for you. But if you are converting a home game to this and it's all homebrew or whatever, this is where we would go. Or if you just want to save your $50 and not buy a module, okay. Like, I'm glad you're here watching this video. So let's build characters. In order to build characters, we need to have character sheets. So under the Journal tab, we're going to go to the Add button. We're going to click it. A little flyout will appear. It says Character, Handout, and Folder. We're going to click Character. It created a character. It gave the character a funny made-up name. If your name is Iwo Iku Siouch, Hard Facts of Life, you have a weird name. So what does this mean that we've made a character? I don't get it. You could do a number of things. You could, if you know the player character's names ahead of time, you could punch them in here. If you don't know the character names, but you know the player names, right? You could give each player their own character sheet. So I could put Sarah's character sheet. And now when Sarah logs in, she will see that this sheet is available and she can start editing it. So for now, I'm going to make that appear in all my players' journals. So they will all be able to see Sarah's character. Not her character sheet, but her character. So they'll know, oh, Sarah's playing a such and such. Can they be edited and controlled by? If Sarah had joined the game, I could select her from this list and say, okay, Sarah, whose handle I guess is Chamomile, is going to be controlling this character. If I'm building these character sheets in anticipation of Sarah joining the game, I might set it to all players so that when Sarah joins, she can immediately go to her sheet and start building. And then I could just change it later to only belong to Sarah, or in this case, Chamomile. I can give some tags here to make it easier to search. So I could call this a PC because it's a player character. And that's really all I know about the character for now. So I'll just put a tag called PC. There's a spot here where I could drag over some art assets to represent her avatar, and I could also have a token here. Until they build the character, I'm not really going to know what that stuff is, but I will show you in the event that they did know what I could do. So Cam is going to be Sarah's character, so I'm going to bring over this asset from another window, and to reiterate, I'm using a Windows machine. I have my asset folder open in my Windows Explorer, and I drag it over. I left click and drag it over to the box that says avatar, and I let go of it. Ta-da! And you saw it update over there in the journal as well. So there we go. Sarah's character. And then I'm going to leave bio for the player to fill out on their own. And DM notes, this is fun. The player can't see this, even if they own the character and have editing rights to it. So I could put stuff here like, Sarah is cursed. Chamomile has lycanthropy, or whatever, right? And then I have this note here that I can, you know, look back and remember, and they have no idea that I've marked them for death on their character sheet. That's the cool thing about this GM note section. All right, so when I'm done, setting it up for the player, I go ahead and hit Save Changes. And now there is a character sheet here. So the player is going to log in, and they're going to go to build their character. As the GM, you should understand how Charactermancer works. I do have a video that explains Charactermancer, but in order to make this series consistent, I'm going to show you really fast how Charactermancer works. So, let's close this down and pretend that we're a player coming in for the first time. Hey, look, there's the character sheet. All right, I'm going to click on it. It opens. Sweet. I'm going to go to, there's 3 tabs here. I'm going to go to the character sheet tab. Because this character was never set up, it prompts me, do you want to create this character using the Charactermancer? Also, there's an option to convert it to an NPC character sheet. This is useful if you were just trying to make an NPC or a monster from scratch. Or you can edit the sheet directly. You will have players who are uncomfortable with the digital world, and they will say, oh, I'm just going to fill it out myself. And they might not have an accent like that, but, you know, whatever. If they decide that they're going to do that, they have done a disservice to themselves, because Charactermancer is so good. Now, my Charactermancer has almost all of the available content, so it's going to be very robust. Your Charactermancer might not be robust. You should collect dues from your players and use it to buy cool stuff for your game. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, here we go. We're going to do Use Charactermancer. Click it. And we jump into this magical tool that will build your character. If you have built a character on D&D Beyond, this is very similar. Maybe not as good, but still pretty good. So let's take a look. We're going to go to Race. Alright, Sarah wants to play a tiefling named Chamomile. Because tiefling is the sensation across the nations for 5th edition, the chosen race, more beloved even than the elves. There are about 14,000 different tiefling variant races now, and I have most of them, if not all of them, unlocked, so that'll be kind of cool. So we're going to choose a race. Big drop-down appears. If your drop-down is not big, it is because you only have the standard rules unlocked for Charactermancer. If that is the case, you will have to go down to Custom, and you will have to slog through inputting the bonuses and abilities one at a time, feature by feature. It's really not that bad. You copy and paste. It's not that bad. If you do have access to the race that you're looking for, you would just go and select it. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select Tiefling. Sweet. So under Tiefling, I have an option for alignment. You know, whatever. So we'll just put neutral, because who cares about alignment? Alright, we've got size, speed, all that jazz is already calculated for me. My abilities are already calculated for me. Dark Vision's already calculated for me. Does that mean Dark Vision's going to automatically be applied to my miniature? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Don't be fooled. So I do have an option for subrace here because I has books that have subraces. So I can click on it and I can choose any of these things. We're going to go with the Dissipator because it's a good subrace for Tiefling. And we're done. Now we're going to go over to class. Chamomile is a bard. That was easy enough. Select bard. Alright, what happens next? It tells you what your proficiencies are. It gives you an option to choose proficiencies. It gives you an option to choose your tool proficiencies. It tells you about spells, blah, 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 blah. Now, I'm going to recommend that you hold off on getting your skill proficiencies until after you do your background. So we're going to actually come back to class after we do background. So then we go to abilities. I'm not telling you how to run your game, but 5th edition was definitely not built to be balanced around rolling for stats. If you do want to roll for stats, though, boy howdy, they will let you do it. Their preferred method is 46 drop the lowest, so if you decide to do that, your players can click it, and it will magically Schwabam! Roll. Wow, I like those stats. This is why you don't roll for stats. That's a really nice set of stats. Oh man, and charisma 17. So yeah. Um, that's if you decide to roll for stats. The game will automatically roll for you. It is documented in chat what they got. There's no fudging rolls. There's no I rolled my rolls off camera or at my house and they were great. You have to believe me. So yeah. Now, if you don't want to roll for stats, right, you can do point buy, which is my preferred method, or standard array, which is also a good way of doing it. And it's smart, right? It will lock out the options as you go. I can't have more than 113 on a standard array. If I decide to do point buy, it does all the point calculations for me as I go. Again, like sometimes the digital world ain't so bad. So in this case, I will go ahead and assign my points real quick. Let's see. There we go. Boom, done. So now we have stats. We're going to go over to background. This character is a bard, so normally bard would be like, hey, I'll be an entertainer, a charlatan, you know, whatever. In this particular instance, you could do a custom, right? So if you go down to custom, you can copy and paste ones that you maybe have but don't have in Roll20. You could make your own. It is pretty versatile in that way. It will allow you to sort of build one proficiency at a time, your background, design your background feature, and all that. For the purposes of this video, though, I will just go with selecting, we'll say, entertainer, just to kind of keep it simple. And just like that, it says these are your skills. Here's your tool proficiencies. You can pick something else. Man, that's what my bard needed, a 4th musical instrument. So we go ahead and select that. Entertainer routine, storyteller. And then the cool thing about this is if you wanted to, you could roll for it. So if you don't want to be a storyteller, you don't know what your background could be, you could roll for it. It'll randomly pick one of these backgrounds, which is kind of cool. Fire Eater would actually be hype as hell for a bard, especially if you went like with a fire build with a tiefling. That'd be cool. Off topic. So personality traits, you can roll for them, or you could pick them from the drop down. Pretty cool. Bam, just automatically fills out that character sheet for you. I like it. If you don't want to pick these because you want to make your own, you could switch it to choose, and then it'll show up blank, and then you could fill in your own. Or you could leave them like this, and then you could always go in and change them manually when your character's done. Now that we have our background skills, we'll be better equipped to decide what actual class skills we want. So I'm going to go back to class. And when I go to pick them, you can see that some of them are not selectable anymore because the background has already chosen them for us. Hey, pretty slick. So I'm going to go back through here and say that she can do sleight of hand, she's good at lying, and she is persuasive. Sweet. And then for musical instruments, I don't know. Just pick a random stuff. I don't know too many DMs that just don't use performance, honestly. But hey, there we go. And let's see, anything else that we need to fill out? Nope. Cool. So we've got class, race, abilities. We've got our background. Let's go over to equipment. This is pretty simple. It says, do you want to choose your class equipment, or do you want to have starting wealth? Well, we could choose our class equipment, and just like that, it says, hey, this is what you can choose. So we'll go ahead and choose a rapier, and we'll choose an entertainer's pack, and we'll start with a lute. And then our background says, hey, you can start with stuff. And we'll be like, cool, I guess I'll carry a flippin' dulcimer around, because we're not tracking encumbrance in this campaign. And then creepy, right? I could have a lock of hair, a trinket, or a love letter. Of course, we'll go with the creepy option and have someone's lock of hair with us. And just like that, boom, I have equipment. I'm done. I go over to the spell tab. For spells, I get to choose 2 cantrips. I mean, it's just walking you through this. So we're not going to take Vicious Mockery because it's terrible. So we're going to go ahead and do... Thunderclap would actually be kind of hype. But we're going to go with support. So we'll go with Message, which is useful. And we'll also go with Minor Illusion, another useful cantrip. For our Bard spells, you will, of course, want to take, we'll say, Healing Word, right? Because the best healing spell in 5th edition. And then we're going to go with Disguise Self, because you can always get up shenanigans. We do get it as a racial, but why not? We've talked to everybody else. There is no Wizrobe, so we will be wanting to identify magic items, so we'll take that. And maybe we actually want to contribute in some way to meaningful combat, so we might take Dissonant Whispers, which is a very strong first level spell, especially if your group works well together. We don't get a feat because we are not a variant human and we're only level 1. We go to Bio. We could fill this stuff in if we wanted to, so now we are committed. This is going to be Chamomile. We could fill in this other stuff if we wanted to, or you could do it later. We go to Review. It would tell us anything that we're missing, which we are not. And so we will hit Apply Changes. And just like that, we have a filled out character sheet. And we're ready to play some Dungeons & Dragons. Maybe. We still have to set up our miniature. So let's take a look at the character sheet and see what we've got. There are 3 tabs here. Your players will only ever need to worry about probably just character sheet, if we're being honest. They could put their character blurb here so that the other players can see it. But let's talk about the character sheet itself. What can we do on this character sheet? You can test your abilities, right? Strength, dexterity, constitution, right? You can roll your saving throws. Okay. You'll notice there's checks by the ones that we have proficiency in. It's pretty cool. Your proficiency bonus is up there. A place to track DM inspiration. Very nice. I had you guys turn on global modifiers, so that's here. So one of the default ones they recommend is Bless. So maybe someone in the party can cast Bless. So we go ahead and we write Bless 1d4. And now we can toggle Bless on and off. So the cleric says we're blessed. We check this box. And now it will automatically add Bless to every roll. No more forgetting to roll that d4. You don't need Caduceus Clay to remind you every 6 seconds that you're supposed to roll an extra d4. It's pretty cool. And when Bless is over, you uncheck the box and you don't have Bless anymore. So heading down here, you can see our skills. There's check marks next to the ones that you have advantage in. Don't stress out about expertise. That's handled as long as you're using the Charactermancer automatically. There is a way to manually turn it on. You would go to your settings. You would scroll down to where it has skills, and then you could manually turn on expertise. So if you had a homebrew feat or a special magic item you found that gave you expertise, this is where you would turn that on. Don't stress about Jack of all trades. If you're using Charactermancer to level up your character, it will automatically turn Jack of all trades on, and it will remember to add Jack of all trades to your initiative rolls for you. Something a lot of players forget or don't realize that they can do. Let's keep going. So as we scroll to the bottom, we can see that it tells us outright what our passive perception is, which is useful. Here's the tools. The tools are set to query. This was something that kind of came up in Xanathar's. Basically, when you go to use a disguise kit, if you are putting a disguise on someone else, you're probably using your intelligence or your dexterity to see how well you applied it or how accurate it is to the person you're trying to disguise as. If you are applying a disguise kit to yourself, I still don't think you'd ever really get to justify a charisma check on a disguise kit. You'd probably use that for the deception part. But you and your DM can sort out every time you go to use one of your tools what you are using. So it looks like this. Hey, you're using your dulcimer? Are you really pounding on that thing? I guess you could use strength for your check. And there you go. Now there's global modifiers you can add to this stuff. So if I went to global modifier, whoops, here we go. Global modifier. They recommend guidance, not a bad choice. So if I'm like, yeah, guidance will be good. Then, if somebody gives me guidance, I can toggle it on before I make the roll, and it will remember to automatically do that extra guidance for me, which is pretty cool. Guidance is kind of a one and done, so I mean, having a gold modifier for it is cool, but definitely not as useful as Bless. Then there's the area where it reminds you what your proficiencies are, automatically fills it up because of Charactermancer. Scrolling back up to the top, we can see our armor class. I don't want to manually change this because it is automatically calculated based on my equipment and my abilities and stuff. So I don't really want to mess with that too much. I have a terrible armor class because I get 1 from dexterity and 1 from the leather armor that is down here that it automatically equipped for me. Right? Pretty cool. And to open up more information about the items, I clicked on the little I, which in this case stands for item, and that gave me all of this information about it. It allows me to equip it, unequip it, all that good stuff. You want to hit someone with your loot? Look at this bad boy. You could turn it into an attack. Ba-bam. You can hit someone with your loot and do 1 point of damage. Heck yeah. Roll 20. Alright, what else do we got? We got initiative. You can see that there's a 0.13 here. That is because when we set up our game, we said that we wanted to use tiebreakers for initiative. Here is speed. This automatically calculates based on your abilities and race and class and all that jazz. We've got our hit points here. You can change your hit points by toggling it up and down. You can also just, manually punch in what they are. Pretty cool. Eventually, we will have a linked miniature, which will, when we change the miniature, it will change the hit points here. And when we change the hit points here, it will change the hit points on the miniature, which is pretty cool. There is a way to do temp hit points here, which is pretty neat. And then also tracks your hit dice. To roll your hit dice, you are going to just click the word hit dice, and it automatically rolls your hit dice for you. And you can see that it added my constitution modifier for me. So then I say, boop, I'm down 1 of my hit dice. Pretty neat. There is a way to play the death saving throw mini game. So if I click with the word death saves, it will roll a death save for me. And it keeps track of any bonuses that I have. So that's a failure, so I would click the box. I have a nice way of tracking if I am dead. It would be kind of cool if when you click the third one, the whole character sheet turned red or something horrible like that, but it's still pretty cool. Underneath that is the macros for attacking. These were automatically generated for us by Roll20, which is awesome. I told Roll20 I wanted a rapier, it gave me a rapier. Now when I click the word rapier, it automatically rolls 2d20s, it adds the numbers for me. I didn't have advantage or disadvantage, so I use a 21 and I ignore the number on the right hand side. I automatically rolled damage. Look at how fast my turn was. Nobody was adding things, nobody was clicking on things, it just happened. Because this is the optimum settings to run a fast and smooth game. Going down further, my dagger even has a macro for my healing word. What level are you casting healing word at? Well, I'm level 1, so I guess level 1. There you go. If I cast it at a higher level, it would have upcast that thing for me automatically. I could cast Dissonant Whispers. It will throw up the information for me. So the DM doesn't have to ask me what the DC saving throw is. It just puts it in the chat. And then look at that. It tells them how much damage they're going to take if they fail. Very cool stuff. Okay. So down here is your inventory. This is where you can keep track of money. This is where you can keep track of, a creepy lock of hair that you have. All that good stuff. Scrolling back up to the top, this is where you can put your personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Like I said before, if you aren't happy with the ones that were provided to you in Charactermancer, you could always manually change them. Here is where you can track resources. I mentioned in a previous video that ammo tracking was a thing if you had the API scripts for it, but you can also track ammo manually if you are that into tracking ammo, or if you have special ammo like flaming arrows, this would be a good place to track it. So in this instance, let's say she had some flaming arrows that she found, and she had, I don't know, 10 of them, right? There you go. Now she uses a flaming arrow, she hits it down, boom, she's done. She used 1 of her flaming arrows. If I need more, I could just click here, and I could say BB healing pot. And how many BB healing pots does she have? She only has the 1. But hey, now she has an easy way to get to it that doesn't involve going down to this mess. And she could say, well, I just used my last healing pot. Now she's got a good way to track it. Underneath that is the Special Abilities and Properties tab. This is pretty cool. If I click on it, the word itself, the red bold word, it opens up and gives me the full skinny. Oh, this is what Bardic Inspiration does. This is how it works. Blah, 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 blah. Cool. If I want to minimize it again, I just click Bardic Inspiration again. If I want to spam chat with it, I click on the little chat bubble and it throws it up. So if the DM's like, I don't think bards can do ritual casting. What are you talking about? You could say, read it and weep, bro. There you go. You got ritual casting. You get hit with fire. Hey, check it out. I've got resistance to fire. And so on and so forth. Don't forget to spam this when you go to a dark place so that your DM knows that you have dark vision. DM love it when you spam this and you tell them that you have dark. Don't do that. Legacy of Dis. This is like your racials for taking the subclass. Congratulations on buying Xanathar's and keeping the lights on at Wizards of the Coast. And then here's your background. I hope that you're in a campaign that lets you use it. So this is where that would be kept track of. As you get cool stuff during the game, you could add more stuff yourself with this little plus button, or you could drag stuff over from the compendium to your character sheet. So maybe during the course of building characters, I convince the DM that in addition to a rapier, I should also be allowed to have a short sword. So he says, sure, you can have a short sword. So I go and I type in short, and then I look for short sword. There it is. And it's under items, not proficiency. I'm going to left click and drag short sword over, and it automatically adds a short sword to my inventory, and it added a short sword macro for attacking. That's pretty cool. So that is the first page of that character sheet. If I go over to her bio, you can see that nothing is filled out because it's a brand new character. And if I go to the spells tab, look at what it has here at the top. Your spell attack bonus and your spell DC. I run a lot of games. I run games for players of all levels. I have had games where I have had to tell level 17 people, what is your spell DC? And they don't know. And I say, go to the third tab of your character sheet, the one that says spells. What does it say at the very top of the screen? And they have to look and tell me. So this is a very useful thing for them to have. Here are your spells. Your spells can be clicked on and spam chat. Pretty neat. Roll20 makes a determination of how this should work. Should a spell have a macro, or should a spell spam its information to everyone at the table? So spells that involve a lot of dice rolling, they default to being a macro that rolls dice. If it's a spell that is more of a description, it defaults to a description. You do have the ability to go in to these spells. Like if I went into Healing Word, I could go to the gear for Healing Word, and I could tell it every time I cast a spell, I want you to spam the entire description or some of the description of this spell alongside the macro. So if I went to Healing Word again, let's see, there we go, and I say, yeah, I cast it. All right, it says a creature of your choice that you could see within range. So it took the most choice information and included that with the spell. Unfortunately, it doesn't do that by default. I had to go in and manually turn that in. For a character like a cleric, a druid, or a wizard that has a lot of spells, it is kind of a pain to go in and turn all that stuff on, but it can make everything easier for everyone at the table if you do take the time to do that. So if you really like spamming chat with descriptions, you could forego the partial description and just do the straight up full description, and that would look something like this every time I cast it. That's not too bad, right? A creature of your choice that you can see within range, blah, blah, blah. So you kind of do what works best for your table, tell your players to set their spells up accordingly, or help them set their spells up accordingly. But you can see that by default, Roll20 makes some pretty good choices about how to handle those spells. You can also see that I've run out of spell slots already. That is because Roll20 automatically taxes me every time I cast a spell. I cast a first level spell, it's going to go, and at least it should, remove my spell slot. Maybe it's only if I do it through an active macro. Let's see. Healing word. No? Okay, weird. Alright, so anyways, that is how they can track their spell slots, how they can cast spells, and do all that kind of stuff. There is a under the hood section over here. I would dissuade your players from messing with this stuff. Again, if you're using Charactermancer, you're not going to need to stress this stuff because Charactermancer is going to handle almost all of this automatically. So again, have your players use Charactermancer. It's really, really good. Alright, so we've built one character. There'll be other characters, obviously. We won't make videos about them, but I can import them so that we have other characters to work with, whatever. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to set up the miniature so that it is linked to this character sheet. So I will see you in the next video.